In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to set up a macro to save your images if you want some that you want to save and you have a long list in here. And the old way is you can right click and one at a time. I don't know any way of download them all at once. You can get in the output folder, but if you're doing on unified canvas and stuff, you got other images in there and it can be a cluttered mess. And I got my favorites here, and instead of clicking them all at one at a time, I can select them all. And to do that, I use this program. It's called Tiny Task. Okay, Tiny Task is free. You don't even have to register or sign up for it. So I already have it loaded, and we'll open it here. And I'll just go over some basic settings just to show you. If we go to the preference right here, we're going to have some play speeds. I'll be going over these. Don't have to go over them right now. It's set to 2. It's pretty slow. And it's looped to 3. You can customize this to how many images you want to save. I want to save 3 images, just as an example. In the preferences, I have record. It's set to the F8 key on the keyboard. That's to start record and end record. Alright, then we have the playback. Here is the F12 key. This will run the macro. Now on Firefox, the F12 key opens up the console. And when that does that, I can't play it back because my F12 keys open up the console. If you do a research, it's called About Config in Firefox. You can disable that so that will not happen. Okay, and anytime that you are recording a macro and you're done with it, if you like it, you better go ahead and save it, because if you record again, what's going to happen is it's going to overwrite it. You can save your macros right here, and you can save it and put the word save. If you put the word save on there so you can have a name to recognize it. Then you can open up the macro and play it back. Normally when you open this up and you load that, it will say invalid. Alright, don't worry about that little message. That's not a problem. So keep that in mind. Now if you're doing different macros, let's say you found something that you want to do, and you start switching some of these stuff up, and you save another macro for another application, and then you try to open up your original, these do not store these settings right here, so you'll have to double check all these. So if you change it and something else, they're going to stay here, so keep that in mind. We're going to be using this reload or refresh page a few times and put everything back at default. Do not record this in the macro. It will cause things to mess up, to make it simple. So if you can see that I am in my favorites, I want to save all these images, and I refresh the page. This will all switch back to default. This will close up, but we need this for this macro to work correctly. Now I'm in the categories here, and I was stuck in my favorites, so don't record that. Another thing is, you used to have to right click, save one image at a time. I have no way of knowing, or unless somebody knows, saving all these images at once. Sure, you can get in the output folder, but it gets quite messy, because if you're in unified canvas, it will create mask, and you will have cluttered up images from the mask and images in here. I don't want to save you. This is my recycle bin ones. I want to save just these here, and I want to not do them one at a time. And in the macro, I'm going to show you a few things that could cause a problem, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. If my cursor's over right here, I can still save an image. If I right click, you can see the menu pops out. If I right click again, I get a different menu. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Another problem is if you're right clicking and you come down here and unstart or something, the menu flies upwards, not downwards. Okay, we don't want that. That will cause it a problem. So if we refresh the page here, go back to our favorites, the menu is down. Okay, I'm going to create a macro. So like I said, always want to start by reloading. That's the first thing that you're going to do. We're going to reload this, and we're going to go back to my favorites because this is all the images I want to save. So we'll do that step, and if we have this open, I'm just going to do 3 images, and it's best to do just a couple because you can see here, we'll just do 3 as example. Once you get like 3 or 4 working, then we're going to up the speed, because if you try doing 100 by practicing, things could go wrong and this thing won't stop. To stop it, you press the F12 key to stop it, but if you don't know what you're doing, the way I was doing it, they said the F12 would stop it, but it was going so fast I was repeatedly pressing the F12, so I was actually starting and stopping it. Just press it one time to stop the playback. Okay, so with that said, now before I make a macro, I'm going to kind of show you this before I get started. Basically, look where my cursor is. It's outside the image. So what's going to happen is my first click is going to be a right click. Alright, now keep an eye on where the flyout box is at. My last click needs to be above it a little bit, somewhere above it, right there. But before I do that, that's going to be my last click. My second click is going to be over here. I'm going to right click this, then I'm going to put my cursor right down here, right in the middle of the icon. I won't want to get up too low or too high in case I select something else. So I'm going to select here, then I'm just going to click. Now on the keyboard, to switch to an image, you press the arrow key to the right. Okay, now my other click I'm going to have is going to be this click up here, a little bit high. I will put it back off the box here, and just click it. The cursor has to move, so keep that in mind. And I'll get ready to record one here in just a second. Okay, I'm going to record a macro and show you, and I'm going to go extremely slow. So basically, we're just going to do 3 images. You don't want to do a bunch of them at once because they will cause problems. And you want to just make sure 3 works at the slow speed. Then we'll crank up the speed here in just a second. And I'm going to be pressing F8 to start and stop. Remember, if you do it again, it overwrites your last macro, so it never gets saved until you save it. When I get done, I'll press F12 to run the script. And like I said, don't record this in the script, but we're going to refresh the page right here, and we're going to bring everything back, and we're going to go into my favorites, and we're going to make sure my download folder is blank. Alright, with the images. And so I'm gonna watch where my cursor's at, and I'm gonna go ahead and press the F8 on the keyboard. Now before I do that, it's always good to, once you click, just to have a little bit of movement in your cursor. Not necessary probably, but so I'll press F8, kind of just move it to the side a little bit, right click. Notice I didn't click download image. There's a reason for that. I won't explain that. So then I'll reach over here inside the image, right click, make sure you get in the middle, and my last click will be on the top up here. So I'll click here, and my last click will be here, and on the keyboard use the arrow key to switch to the image. Now when I get done, press F8. Now it stopped recording. Alright, so we're going to play this back. Okay, now when I made a recording, make sure that because you'll have a couple of images in there and say, well, I said 3 and I got 4 in there. It's because you already did a macro. So let's start fresh here. Alright, just keep this in mind. So we're gonna, when we run the macro, we need to refresh the page, go back here, and I'm not gonna do anything, but I'm gonna have my cursor over here somewhere where when I did the macro. Probably not real necessary, but it might help it a little bit. And the one thing to do when this thing starts running, don't move your mouse. Keep your hands off the mouse. So I'm going to press the F12 on the keyboard, and we're going to run this. So it's going to run 3 images. Alright, now like I said, it's going a little slow here, and well, that's going to take a lot of time, but we're going to really speed this up. So just keep in mind it's going to just take a little bit here from the beginning. So we'll just wait till it finishes to the 3rd one, and we'll go from there. Alright, it finished. Now let's go look in that folder. It saved that image, well, it saved that image, and that image, hopefully. And we got our 3 images. Let's get rid of these real quick. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to speed this up. Now, we don't want to start from here, so, unless we want to save the other 3 images. So I'm going to run this real quick, refresh, like I said, start from new. But this time I'm going to go in here and go to my preference, and I'm going to boost up the speed. I think you can custom the speed here, but I don't know if you can get 100 times faster. I think I tried 200 in the custom speed right here, and you can put 200. I don't know if it'll go any faster than 100. We'll just try that. So when I play it back, it's going to go 200 times faster. And when I press the F12. Alright, let's take a look in the folder one more time, make sure I'm not lying. Open it up. And just in case I forgot, a little recap. Press here, here, and press F12. And it's done. Now we go in that folder. Alright. Don't repeatedly do this because you'll have the F12, because you'll end up having more images here. So it saved that one. Let's take a look a little larger here. Alright, saved all 3 of them. I believe that's correct. And it sure did. Now what we want to do is we want to save this. We know it's working. We don't want to start doing recording because it'll overwrite it. So you'll save this and you'll give it a name. And I give it the name save, and we'll save this. Alright. And like I said, sometimes when you open something up, it might give you a pop-up that it's invalid. And the reason why I didn't, because the application was already open. So make sure you save it. Alright. Alright, I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to refresh the page here, go to here, and this is what you can do if you wanted to. If you go over here, you can see I ain't got no images, and we're going to do preference 3 images at F12, and I'm just going to go ahead and press F12. Alright, now I know I have a total of 6 and I did 3, so it saved 3 of them. Alright. If I want to save the other 3, I wouldn't press this refresh button. So I can press F12 again. And let's see it where it stopped at right there by itself. Don't select anything else. And F12. When I open this up, then we got all the images here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. when you get a lot of images in here, and let's say my folder had 100 of them in here, and you're like, well, I stopped at 25 and I don't want to count out how many images that I got from 25 because you want to add your numbers for your loop, you can actually we'll shift click all these, and if you just right click and go to properties, it'll let you know how many files are saved. So like I said, if you got 100 in there, you're like, well, I stopped at 75, I need 25 more, but I don't know how many I have. Well, let's say then you can calculate how many more you need to add to it. That's that's something a little extra right there if you want to do that, because easy to count to 6, but when you got a lot of them and you don't know how many you got in the folder, all you got to do is select them and right click, and then go to properties, and it'll let you know how many files you got selected. And as I was saying earlier, when I was doing my macro, I was using the arrow key on the keyboard to switch. Okay, I'm using the arrow key in my macro. I'm not clicking this button here, alright, over here or over here. You don't want to do that. Another thing is, you notice in the macro I moved here, here, and here real shortly, okay, because in the macro we don't want to have our cursor go way up here or way down here. That's going to slow down the macro. Alright, let's do this again. I'm going to show you again, recap a little thing, refresh, go to my favorites. Let's make sure the folder is gone with the images. Shift click here, delete. And I want to do all 6 of them this time, so basically I'll go here, go to my preference, and we'll set the loop to 6. Save 6 images. And press F12 on the keyboard. Alright, we got all 6 here. Let's go double check. Now this is great to check if you got like 150 in there. What I was talking about earlier, if you shift click this right here and right click, and then you go to properties, you'll see how many files. 6 is easy to remember, but if you had a folder full of a lot of images, and you wanted to double check to make sure it saved all of them, because I got folders in here that have 100 of them that is loaded, and I got a total of 320 of them. So if I wanted to double check that, that's a good way of checking that. Another thing is it's got 100, and if you want to get all these images, you will have to come down here. If I want to do all 302 of them, and I got to click until it stops, till it loads all 302 I meant, if I said something else, to make sure they're all loaded. And you'll know when they're all loaded when it's grays out. So when I run the script and I set this to my preference up here to loop to 302, and then I can it will save all these, because it may not save them if you don't load them all, so be careful with that. I paused the video, that's probably why you see changes, but I'm on to something else. I just wanted to make a little note. Even though that it saved, and it saved it pretty fast, I was actually moving slow, and so I could have made that macro probably 4 times as fast. I just had to do it in the video to show you, because when you have your cursor here and it takes you, let's say, 30 seconds to get here, well, that's going to be in the macro. So I had to go a little slow and to show you. So normally when I make one, I normally make it pretty quick, and that will make the macro even quicker. But anyway, you seen it. It worked pretty fast, just like it was, and it actually is a lot faster than what I showed you. Okay, I'm going to show you the error that you might get. Now I shut down Tiny Task. It's no longer running. So basically is if I select here and double click it and press open, and we got that one called save. We're going to open it, and we're going to make sure we want this all set. And I got a new setup here. I got 6 images in it, so we need to make sure everything is correct. We'll put 6 in here, press OK. Let's take a peek in the download folder. Let's go ahead and view this large. You can see no images in there. And I'll open this up. Then make sure that we're on the top. Now, like I said, once you get the hang of it, you don't have to reload if you're kind of like stuck in here. But if you're new, just make a habit of doing that. So we refresh that page. I'm in all these in an uncategory anyway, so that's why these are popping back up. And all I'm going to do is run the macro right now since it's loaded, and you can see it working here. Now it's set to, it's pretty slow right now, so to cancel that, just to show you, just press the F12 key one time. It canceled it out. I just wanted to show you, because if you got it going 100 times faster, and like I said, you'll think you're shutting it down by the F12 key, and it acts like it's still running, because you keep on hitting the F12 key, and all you're doing is starting it and stopping it and starting it and stopping it. So basically, let's go to preference. We'll set this to 100 because it didn't save it. I was doing something else. Let's take a peek in that folder again. It saved one when I did the first one, so we'll go here. And basically all I do is press the F12 key with 6 images. And we'll just close this down. Make sure that thing never starts running again. And we'll open that folder up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's a little simple macro that you can make. There's all kinds that you can make in here. I have the one called slideshow. It's kind of like me coming up here and clicking this arrow, okay, and going back and forth. Or I can use the hotkey on my keyboard to cycle through. But the thing is if I got 100 images or more, maybe 200, and I just want to sit back, drink, and have a glass of water and just sit back and watch this, we can make a slideshow out of this. So basically what we'll do is always need to select the top one first. Come down here, look, we got 6 images. We'll open this up and make sure that our loop is set to 6 for 6 images. Our speed is pretty slow. So I'm going to record a macro. Alright, and when I do, I'll let you know. So I'll click down here to start right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the F8 on the keyboard to start the macro. And when I do, I'm just going to reach over on the keyboard, and so it switches over. And that's it. Press F8 to stop. So the macro has finished, and we're going to play that back. So we need to, since we got 6, we don't want to start here. We want to start at the beginning. So we'll click here, and I'll press F12. Now if you're wondering, saying, hey, he's hitting the keyboard, well, I'm not, and I'll show you that I'm not. Alright, and another thing is, like I said, I don't know if I said it earlier, is I don't like to record without the hotkeys, because if you record it by clicking through here, let me see, with this arrow, in the video, or not, well, the playback, it'll keep on showing my mouse moving around. I don't want that. So I'll just do this one more time and just press F12. Then I'll show you that I'm not just using the keyboard. So we'll come up here. We'll start. Now if we go to preference, I'm going to speed this up, and we'll do a custom speed. Let's say 20. Alright, press F12. And we'll select up here. And it will really go if I select 100 times speed. That's the way if you wanted to sit back and go through your images without, you know, your hands on the mouse pad or the mouse and the keyboard. You just want to sit back and watch these. Just go ahead and set it up to your likings, how you want to play back. 2 seems pretty good. Gives me enough time to watch images as I'm going through. And don't press F12 when it's down here, because it's going to start down here. We need to start here. And I'll just press F12 one more time. We'll be done with this part. You just have to adjust it to your likings. And it's finished. Very simple macro. And make sure that you get done. Make sure you save that. Alright, I'm going to show you another macro. If you're familiar with this, it's in Stable Diffusion called XYZ Plot. This generates images to find out what settings look the best for your image, instead of having to manually do it one at a time. Now, I got this image here, and I know it's going to work. To double check that, we'll set the image to 1. And basically, let's say I change this to 20 for some reason, okay? Alright. What you want to do is you want to right click this. You'll see that change over there. Right click this, and we're going to press Use All. Okay, these are the settings made for this image, okay? So when I generate it, what will happen is it will create the same image. I know this might take a little bit of time, but I'm gonna make this a little bit simpler, and you do your own adjustments. So it made the same images here. So here, there's no difference. So with that said, I'll delete that one there. And what you want to do when you make this script, you want to start at the highest, okay? Then you'll work your way down. The reason why is when I set my CFG, let's say to 20, for example, it's going to take longer to generate, and it's also going to be recorded. So with that said, is it's going to take a little bit longer time, and the macro, the way it works is on time. So in other words, is you want to start where it takes the longest and work your way down. Because the macro, like I said, works on time. So if you start low, and it may start clicking things beforehand or not on time. So we'll start high. We'll kind of skip that part, but just pay attention. We're going to start high right here. So to generate this, we're gonna open up the macro, and I'm just, you know, and I want to set the preference to 3. I'm going to do 3 of these in increments. Now if we go to the hotkey settings here, and to generate an image, we're going to use the hotkey instead of moving the cursor over to click to generate it. So with that said, I'm going to press the F8 on the keyboard. I'm going to have my cursor over here somewhere, and we're going to do increments of 5 3 times. So I'll press F8, and I'll come over here and click till it gets down to 15. Yeah, and I went one over. So we'll just start that macro over just in case you get a little too far ahead of yourself. So we're going to restart that one more time. I press F8 to quit it. In case you run into that, you can keyboard's going crazy on me. So we'll do that again. Okay, we're going to come over here and press F8, and we're going to do it till it gets down to 15 and stop. Okay, it did. I'll just leave my cursor right there, and I'm going to control key and press enter. It will generate it. Now I'm only do 3 of them. You'd want smaller increments than this, and you may not want to start this high, but 15 may be good. Now that it's finished, I'm going to press F8 on the keyboard one time, and that's it. Now if you look at these two here, here's the one it generated, and here's the original one. Alright, so I don't like that one, and this one actually could be better, so we can double check that. We're going to go ahead and just delete this one here, and before we do, we can go up to the info right here, and if you can see down here, the CFG is set to 15. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and delete this one here. Alright, remember we are going to generate it 3 times, so to start the macro, we need to set this back up to 20 one more time. Then we're going to press the F12 on the keyboard. It's going to come over here and manually do this by itself. I'm not doing nothing. My hands are off the keyboard and the mouse. Alright, we already got one image over on the right. And you may adjust the speed because it might get a little ahead of its time here. So we should have a total of 4. If not, we'll adjust the speed on it. See, it's trying to click this before it stops, before it started jetting. This is what I was talking about. It may do it, it may not. Well, we got 4 there. If it's not working correctly, you may adjust the speed right here through the preference and slow it down just a little bit. So now we got this one here. See, it stopped at 5. And it did this one, and this one, and this is the original one. Now I'm going to open this up. Now every time I select an image, this will change. So this one was CFG 7, 15, look over here, 10, and 5. Okay, so even though that you can't see the images, they're still underneath here, so we'll open it up like that. We'll delete this right here, and we can get the info here. Anytime that you change something, you can see here, let's start to the original, and I'll just show you one more time. And to the next step, press use all, and it will generate. This is the original one, kind of like I showed you from the beginning. Then I'm going to show you where this would not work on. Alright, now it generated it. It's the same one. I know this will work for my CFG. This will let me know what CFG looks the best. You can go to steps over here next or whatever. Now keep in mind, anytime that you switch something, you got to be careful, because if you change a scheduler, it might render super slow. Now the one I got it set at, it runs really fast. So if I'm doing all my images, I may just leave the scheduler where it's at. Then I know I got perfect settings. So if I delete this one here, and now this one here would not work. The reason why it won't work, if we go up to here, it was made from image to image. This will not work, okay? See, if we go to right click and use all, then we just press here, it's not going to work. This was not generated in this section of invoke. Let it finish up. Not going to work. So just keeping that in mind. If you got something, now this was generated here, so this image will always work here. So if I was to regenerate this image again, we'll just right click this and just to use all, just to make sure. Now this image will work here, but it's completely different than that one. So if we, now we can use it again and it will produce the same one. As you can see here and see here, they're both the same now.